So other than immigrating, because you wanted to leave the islands and education, were there any other reasons?
For coming to U.S.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could. The reason was I'd never expect to come to the U.S. All I wanted was to get out of the islands, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the timing was so good, you know.
Yeah.
The timing was so good when my aunt came, because she always come and visits surprisingly. She's surprised, yeah. She never says she's gonna. So the idea was, you know, like I said, we were planning to go to Guam, and you know, but college was not at the time, was not something that um, that I wanted to, but I was fearful because I through high school it was I took it as fun. I was more of a good student when I was in a middle school and elementary till I went to high school. I took it as more fun and social, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so college was not in the back of my mind. The back of my mind, it was to me is like it was fear of failing. You know, I
Yeah.
didn't know what college is about. You know, we've got students that will come here and come to the islands when I was in my senior and speak about college, and so it's like I hear that it is an opportunity to grow and be make better decisions and be you know, and be knowledgeable about a lot of things and improve your life. That I know. So I
Okay.
just know that piece. But the fear of going to college was not. I was fearful because I at my age at that time I already thought that I might not make it. You know, already I'm having these doubts that, you know, I'm thinking failure. I'm thinking negatively than rather positive. And going living home and not having the support of the family around scares me. You know, because we grew up in always, you know, family oriented.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not having that was the kind of the fear, yeah, that I had. So it was never a plan, or it was never in my mind till I came here and went to Chemeketa and did those classes. Those, even though I didn't able to take credit classes, but my counselor helped me. So, oh, you can just take these classes. At least you get the college feel and the environment.
Yeah.
Right there, that I was like, oh, and I see the teachers, the instructors, and how helpful and other students are engaged and, you know, with each other. And, you know, it's like, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can do this. That made me believe that I can. And that's how I felt that I think I can do this. I can really actually make it in college.
Okay. Were there any historical events going on in Yap that pushed you to immigrate? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, no, not as the only that pushed me to immigrate is to push me to leave the island is, you know, I didn't wanna. I guess I didn't wanna end up. If I didn't leave, I might end up having families, tons of kids, and marriages. It's just like the domestic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not ready for a domesticated, you know. Oh yes, at the time it's like, oh, it would be nice to have that, but then you know, it was, yes, it was good to be a wife and be, but then I always had this thing. But then that's all I'm going to be doing, you know. I see my family and my parents. That's how their life. That's how my life is going to be. Do I really want this?
What was your mom's life like?
Well, because he was a wife,
Mm-hmm.
a mother, a housewife, so it's a daily routine is, you know, constantly gardening, you know, harvesting food to feed the family. I mean, we had a hard times growing up, you know, because sometimes there's no food, no children, you know. So my father made sure that we have fruits, you know, guavas, gingang, sugarcane, and all that stuff planted. So when the kids come home from school and they're hungry, they eat those till dinner. And we'll take one can of tuna and we'll make soup for the entire Yeah, family. Yeah, so it always been hard because my mom always have to like we have to always count pennies to buy food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or she'll ask me to go to the next door neighbor. It was like that used to be embarrassing when I was growing up. Yeah. Yeah. And when you go and everybody's poor in the island, so they yell at you. I go to my grandparents to ask for food. They yell at you first before they feed you.
Mhm.
That's the norm. Yeah. So I just saw that and I thought, I really don't want to live like that. Have to always count pennies to buy the next meal for my children. You know, you know, um, or always have to borrow next door's. Ask for soy sauce, salt, and all this. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Even though it was the norm, everybody did it, and it was just not my family. Everybody did it. And it's because it's back at home it's like family oriented. We help each other.
Mhm.
I just saw that and I said, that means that's how I'm going to live for the rest of my life. It was not. It's not a path that I wanted to go to. Even though I wasn't sure what I wanted.
Okay. How are your expectations of the U.S. similar or different than what you had actually experienced firsthand?
It is just different. It has the first hand was hard because the restriction of non-U.S. citizen. I was always have a hard time getting. I wasn't able to get a job because not on the documents. I didn't have a proper document. I I didn't have a problem with racial. That's for sure. My first job it was at the bowling alley, and I was well liked, so I didn't have a problem with like being different as far as color, except my accent. Speaking English was
Yeah.
that was sometimes learning a new word that I've never tried to say it properly for your coworker to understand was sometimes it doesn't come out wrong, and I get made fun of. But I didn't take it as a. I didn't take at first. I thought it was kind of embarrassed, they make fun, but then after a while it becomes, yeah, I. I have a great sense of humor. I would, you know, um, just make it fun, like
Yeah.
laugh at it, you know, than rather taking it serious. And so I've never really encountered a really, yeah, actually that's not true. Through my jobs, I haven't encountered, at the time, okay, those times it was really good. I never encountered racial or slurs or anything. It's not till later that I've lived here longer that will start becoming obvious.
Mhm.
They are through the 80s when I was taking classes. I was used as in a classroom as an example for being non-U.S. and because of my accent and how would one from other than not U.S. will see a word and will perceive it differently than
Yeah.
yeah. So I was used, which I kind of the instructor. I thought that was kind of that didn't sound right because
Mhm.
they used me as an example, and I didn't ask to be the example. And then of course working at the information at the college is really tough because I've been called a lot of names, because and that's not because if they don't get the what they want, students get upset. They need an immediate answers, and we have to follow the procedures and protocols like that.
Mhm.
And then they get upset. They will hang up on you, call you names, or yeah, which is something that it becomes nothing to me.
And that's not what you expected when you first came here.
Because when I first I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I didn't encounter that. It's now later in life I'm encountering how, yeah. I've even had people that tell me that I need to speak with somebody that speak English, you know, because yeah, because yeah, yeah, because now there's so much more diversity that everywhere you call, there's always like the Hispanics, Spanish or English.
Yeah.
Well, every time they always have that. There's an attitude of people that think that always take me as for you know, because I'm a Spanish speaker, because of my accent. So they assume right there,
Yeah.
yeah, that I'm, and so there's always that, yeah, or there are people from Hispanic that assume I am, and right away they start speaking Spanish to me. So now I'm encountering more of that, yeah.
Okay, you answered another one.
Oh, we're on the second page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Through my job, I do encounter a lot of and not in a negative way. I think it's more of ignorance of the other parties. Yeah, you know, I mean, we're in I work at a college which is very diverse, you know, and the diversity is very, you know, is very high.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm so grateful because I blend into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is how the U.S. is going. It is actually going to is more diverse than more than just one. Yeah. Focus of one group.
Okay. What stood out to you the most as you started living in the U.S. and why? Like, what did you notice that was different?
What I noticed that was different was weight.
Weight?
Obesity, weight, people weight, because you know, I come from the island. People were, that's the first thing that, you know, like, is the, how big some people can be. I didn't, and how convenient, and the convenience of the fast food. Yeah, that stood out. Like, how can you make food so fast?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in seconds. Yeah, I mean, those are, and the tall buildings. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that I can see the ocean for out. Yeah.
Yeah.
For you have to drive to an ocean, and it's hours. And of course, snow was not my biggest. Yeah. But what stands out, you know, is I've never seen now it's known to me, but when I first came here, I swear I didn't realize there were people that get huge. I mean, yeah, we all, you know, back home we get big, but, you know, the biggest is like, that kind, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any factors that made assimilating to the U.S. easier, like family and access to resources?
When I first came here, yes, my aunt, yes, she's actually, I have to thank her for, you know, for being there for me. Not only to show me how to do things, how to cook, how to, you know, how to shop, how to those little the living lifestyle here that I got my knowledge through her. You know, even using a vacuum, because I've never used a vacuum. You know, and there are some things that I did that was that I tried to do it on my own. So yes, I would say my aunt is the biggest inspiration and the biggest support for me when I first came here, because after 2 years living with her and moved out on my own, I was better equipped how to to use all the kitchen appliances that I because we didn't cook with we cook outdoors
Yeah.
with wood. So having to be a convenience of turning on something and then sit down and watch TV and get up and turn it off is the best thing.
Yeah.
Because then when I grew up, you have to plan.
Yeah.
Gotta get the wood, gotta get. So it's not. Okay, I'm gonna chew water.